Right now, while you're watching this video, Donald Trump is sitting across from Xi Jinping in Beijing. Every financial news channel in the world is covering the same things. Trade truce, Boeing orders, soybean deals, maybe something on Taiwan, maybe something on Iran. Nobody is covering the silver story. And the silver story is the most consequential thing happening in that room. Because buried underneath the agriculture commitments and the aerospace contracts and the diplomatic photo opportunities is a negotiation that will determine the single most important structural variable in silver's industrial demand for the next 3 to 5 years. And that variable is not something most silver investors have ever heard explained clearly. By the time this video ends, you will understand it better than 95% of the people currently trading silver. This is TSL. Let us build the picture. Here is the number that frames everything. China controls approximately 85% of global rare earth processing and more than 90% of global rare earth magnet production. Not mining, not extraction. Processing and magnets. The finished, usable form of the materials that go into every semiconductor chip, every EV motor, every solar panel manufacturing machine, and every F-35 fighter jet on Earth. That number, 85%, is confirmed by foreign policies analysis published this week, specifically in the context of the Trump-Xi summit. The CFR's analysis, also published this week, goes further. It describes rare earths as Beijing's break glass tool, the nuclear option in the trade war that China has demonstrated twice in 12 months it is willing to use. In April 2025, when Trump imposed sweeping tariffs, China announced rare earth export restrictions. Trump folded. In October 2025, China threatened again. Trump folded again. The CFR's exact language is precise and damning. Xi has long told cadres that time and momentum are on China's side. His confidence further strengthened last year when he successfully beat back Trump's unprecedented trade escalation by wielding China's break glass tool of rare earth minerals and magnets. Break glass, used twice in 12 months. Both times it worked. And now Trump is walking into Beijing with that same tool sitting on the table between them. Now here is the connection that nobody in mainstream financial media is making. And this is where the silver story lives inside the rare earth story. Rare earths do not just go into military equipment. They go into the manufacturing machinery, the motors, the precision controls, the power electronics, and the coordination systems that produce solar panels, electric vehicles, AI server hardware, and semiconductor chips. Those four industries, solar, EV, AI, and semiconductors, are responsible for the fastest growing and most structurally important components of global silver demand. The Silver Institute has formally documented that solar photovoltaic manufacturing now accounts for 29% of total silver industrial demand, up from 11% in 2014. That is a 164% increase in solar's share of silver consumption in a single decade. And the IEA project's solar capacity will grow at a 17% compound annual growth rate between now and 2030. Every gigawatt of new solar capacity requires silver. The panel needs silver paste to conduct electricity. The manufacturing equipment that builds the panel needs rare earth magnets to operate with precision. The motors that position the panels on tracking systems use rare earth motors. The power electronics that convert solar energy into grid-compatible electricity use rare earth components. Rare earths and silver are not competing materials. They are complementary inputs to the same industrial infrastructure. When China restricts rare earth exports, solar manufacturing gets disrupted. When solar manufacturing gets disrupted, silver procurement gets disrupted, because factories that cannot source rare earth components cannot build panels that require silver paste. That chain, rare earth restriction feeding into solar manufacturing disruption, feeding into silver demand suppression, is the hidden silver story inside every rare earth headline from this Beijing summit. Now let TSL put the full picture of China's industrial dominance on the table, because the scale of it needs to be understood to grasp why this summit matters so much for silver's demand story. China installed more solar panels in the first half of 2025 than the rest of the world combined. China produces approximately 70 to 80% of the world's solar panels. China produces approximately 60% of global electric vehicles. China runs the dominant processing and refining capacity for the rare earth magnets that go inside those EVs and solar manufacturing systems. And since January 1st, 2026, China has classified silver itself as a strategic material, restricting exports to 44 approved companies and inserting government control into the choke point through which approximately 70% of globally traded mined silver passes in processing or export form. Goldman Sachs warned explicitly, confirmed in their research and reported across multiple sources, that China's export licensing system for silver is fragmenting the global market into isolated regional pools that cannot be balanced against each other. That fragmentation is already visible in the Shanghai premium, Physical silver in Shanghai is trading at 12 to 13% above Western spot pricing. The historical average of that premium is 1 to 3%. Right now, it is 4 to 5 times the historical norm. Not because of speculation, because the arbitrage mechanism that historically kept prices aligned has been partially shut off by Beijing's regulatory decision on January 1st. That shutdown of the silver arbitrage mechanism was not discussed at any summit. It was not negotiated. It was a unilateral regulatory decision by Beijing that changed the global silver market permanently. And the Beijing summit happening right now is the first major bilateral meeting between Washington and Beijing since that decision was made. Here is what the summit outcomes mean specifically for silver's industrial demand story. And TSL is going to be precise because this is the analysis that most channels covering this summit will never connect to silver. The best case outcome for silver, confirmed by both CFR and Nomura as the most likely result, is a tacit extension of the current trade truce with some deliverables on agriculture, aerospace, and investment, soybeans, Boeing planes, maybe some financial services opening. The trade truce that is currently set to expire in November 2026 gets extended for another year. Rare earth restrictions stay in place but are not escalated. Silver export controls stay in place but are not tightened further. In this scenario, the industrial disruption remains contained. Solar manufacturers in the US and Europe face continued supply chain friction, but not catastrophic restriction. Silver procurement for solar, EV, and AI infrastructure continues at current constrained levels. The sixth consecutive annual deficit continues building. The 762 million ounce stockpile drain accelerates. The Shanghai premium persists, and silver at $84 remains structurally underpriced relative to a physical market that is tightening every month. The more aggressive upside scenario, less likely but documented as possible by CFR analysis, is a genuine rare earth détente. China agrees to ease export restrictions on rare earths and critical minerals in exchange for some form of US technology access or market opening. In this scenario, the manufacturing supply chains that use rare earths to build solar, EV, and AI hardware experience a surge of relief buying. Procurement that was being rationed against rare earth uncertainty gets released. Industrial silver demand, which is already running at levels that produce a 46 million ounce annual deficit, accelerates further as the manufacturers that were hedging against supply chain disruption go back to full production schedules. This is the scenario where silver's industrial demand story gets repriced by institutional analysts who have been conservative, precisely because rare earth uncertainty was suppressing manufacturing confidence. The downside scenario is an escalation. China uses the rare earth leverage more aggressively in Beijing, perhaps in response to US insistence on Hormuz or nuclear language around Iran, and restricts rare earth exports further as a negotiating signal. Manufacturing disruption deepens. Solar capacity additions slow globally because panel production is rate limited by rare earth equipment constraints. Silver's near-term industrial demand outlook weakens as factory output falls. Paper silver faces additional headwind. And yet, paradoxically, the physical silver stockpile drain continues because the deficit is structural, and industrial buyers who can access silver at any price will continue to pull from available inventory, even as spot production rates slow. Here's the number that makes the rare earth story impossible to ignore for silver investors. The Science Direct peer-reviewed research published in 2025 on silver demand through 2030 found that by 2030, supply may meet only 62 to 70% of demand. The solar industry alone is projected to reach 29 to 41% of total silver supply by 2030. That research was built on an assumption of normal supply chain function, normal rare earth availability, normal manufacturing equipment procurement. A rare earth restriction scenario, which Beijing has demonstrated it is willing to impose and capable of sustaining, could reduce the denominator of that equation by disrupting the manufacturing capacity that the demand projection is built on. But here is the counterintuitive insight that TSL wants every viewer to lock in. If rare earth restrictions disrupt solar manufacturing in the short term, suppressing the industrial demand that would otherwise pull more silver from the market, they simultaneously reduce the mining and processing activity that produces byproduct silver. Approximately 70% of global silver production is a byproduct of copper, zinc, and lead mining. Supply chain disruptions that slow global manufacturing activity also slow the base metal mining that produces silver as a side product. Demand suppression and supply suppression can move simultaneously in the same direction in a rare earth restriction scenario. The deficit does not necessarily widen, but it also does not close, and the physical vault keeps draining at whatever rate reflects the remaining industrial activity. Now, let TSL give you the 5 specific summit developments to watch in real time for their silver implications. Because every viewer watching this before the summit ends needs a framework for processing the outcomes as they land, not after. The first signal is whether any rare earth or critical mineral language appears in the joint statement. If the words rare earth or critical minerals appear in the official joint statement text, either side is making a commitment about supply chain normalization. A positive commitment, rolling back restrictions, agreeing to a review process, establishing a bilateral critical minerals working group, is constructive for silver's industrial demand outlook. Absence of those words means the status quo holds. The Goldman Sachs isolated regional inventory warning stays operative. The second signal is whether China announces any rollback of its silver export restrictions. The January 1st 44-company whitelist decision was unilateral. An announcement that the whitelist is being expanded or that the 45-day license review process is being streamlined would partially restore the global silver arbitrage. The Shanghai premium would begin compressing, and that compression, while seeming bearish on the surface, would actually be constructive because it means physical silver is flowing to where it is needed rather than trapped in regional pools. The third signal is whether the trade truce is formally extended and for how long. A one-year extension to November 2027 removes trade uncertainty from manufacturing procurement calendars through most of 2027. That clarity allows solar manufacturers, EV producers, and AI hardware builders to sign longer-term silver supply contracts without the risk that a trade war reignites before delivery. Multi-year silver supply contracts signed by major manufacturers are the physical demand floor made visible. They pull silver from available inventory in advance and reduce the spot supply available to paper market holders. The fourth signal is whether Hormuz is addressed at all. Nomura called it the most pressing agenda item. CFR noted China was specifically positioned as having already weighed in with Iran to facilitate straight reopening. If any language about Hormuz appears in the joint statement, even indirect language about energy supply chain stability, it is China signaling to Iran and to the market that a resolution framework is possible. Oil below 100 is the monetary engine for silver. The Beijing summit is the most direct diplomatic route to that outcome currently available. The fifth signal is Trump's Truth Social post within 30 minutes of the bilateral meeting ending. Not the official joint statement, not the press conference. Trump's first post after the meeting tells you what he believes he got before any diplomatic framing has been applied to the outcome. Raw signal, unfiltered. That is when the market moves fastest, and when understanding the mechanism in advance is most valuable. Here is the broader picture that TSL wants every silver investor to carry regardless of what the summit produces today or tomorrow. The rare earth story and the silver story are the same story told in different materials. Both are critical industrial inputs. Both are dominated by China in processing and refinement. Both are being treated as strategic assets by Beijing in a way they were not 5 years ago. China's export controls on rare earths tripled between 2021 and 2025, according to Foreign Policy's confirmed data. China's export controls on silver were implemented for the first time in January 2026. The trajectory of China's strategic materials policy is not ambiguous. It is moving toward more control, not less. The United States government recognized this on the way up. The Trump administration's Project Vault critical minerals stockpile program, the equity stakes in critical mineral firms, the dozens of mineral deals worldwide documented by Foreign Policy. All of it is the U.S. government acknowledging that it is structurally dependent on Chinese-controlled supply chains for the materials that underpin every major technology industry. Silver was formally classified as a critical mineral by the United States in November 2025. The same month, the World Silver Survey confirmed the fifth consecutive annual deficit. The critical mineral designation matters for silver investors because it means U.S. government procurement priorities are now structurally supportive of silver demand in addition to private industrial demand. Defense applications, semiconductor manufacturing, and green energy infrastructure all carry government mandate when they are built with classified critical minerals. That mandate does not disappear when the paper price drops. It deepens. The solar demand story alone should reframe how every silver investor thinks about the industrial foundation underneath any paper price move. In 2014, solar accounted for 11% of silver industrial demand. Today, it accounts for 29%. That shift from 11 to 29 represents 164% growth in solar's share of silver consumption in a decade. And the IEA projects solar capacity growing at 17% per year through 2030. The Silver Institute's Oxford Economics research published in December 2025 projected that the solar industry will be the fastest growing source of silver demand through 2030. Each next-generation TOPCon and SHJ solar cell uses 1.5 to 2 times more silver per gigawatt than the previous generation panels, offsetting the per-unit thrifting that manufacturers have been achieving. The demand story is not cooling, it is compounding. And the Beijing summit happening right now with rare earth leverage on the table, with China's silver export controls still in force, with the trade truce expiry in November 2026 looming as the next major inflection point, is the most important single diplomatic event for silver's industrial demand outlook in 2026. Silver at $84 is priced against a backdrop where rare earth uncertainty is suppressing manufacturing confidence, where China's export controls are fragmenting the global silver market, where the trade truce expiry creates a ceiling on procurement planning horizons, and where the Hormuz disruption is adding energy cost pressure to every manufacturing supply chain simultaneously. Remove any one of those four headwinds, and silver's price is different. Remove all four, and silver's price is dramatically different. The Beijing summit is the only event on the calendar that has the potential to address all four of those headwinds simultaneously. It will not fully resolve any of them in 2 days, but it can change the trajectory of all four in ways that institutional procurement planners and commodity allocators will price in advance, before the formal announcements, before the press conferences, before the joint statement language is parsed by analysts. The physical silver market does not need the Beijing summit to continue building its case. The sixth consecutive annual deficit runs regardless. The 762 million ounce stockpile drain continues regardless. The COMEX vault at 13.4% coverage does not improve because Trump and Xi have dinner together. The Shanghai premium at 12 to 13% above Western spot persists regardless of the communique language. The industrial demand from solar, EV, and AI infrastructure keeps pulling silver from every accessible vault, at whatever the available price is. What the summit determines is the policy environment inside which that structural physical reality operates over the next 12 to 24 months. Rare earth détente makes it better. Rare earth escalation makes it more complicated, but not fundamentally different. The physical reality wins eventually regardless. The summit just changes the slope and the timing. China controls 85% of rare earth processing. Trump is in Beijing right now. Every financial news channel is watching for the Boeing order and the soybean deal and the Taiwan language. TSL is watching for the rare earth language, the critical mineral commitment, the silver export control signal, and the Hormuz framework. Because those are the things that determine where silver goes over the next 12 to 24 months, not the soybean number. This is TSL. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. The joint statement drops within hours. Trump's Truth Social post after the bilateral meeting is the first unfiltered signal. TSL will be here when it lands, with a full analysis of what it means for silver and gold. Drop your silver target for end of 2026 in the comments. TSL reads every single one. See you when the summit ends.